Hello and welcome, seekers of knowledge, to another episode of Your Pocket DPO, a privacy podcast, with your host, Alexandria Stanford. If you're new to the show, I read a privacy policy, break it down, and present it to you. This week, I'm presenting Samsung's privacy policy. Yes, you heard me right. I'm presenting a privacy policy for devices that you are probably using, and you do not want to miss that. Samsung Electronics has created a network of appliances and devices that focuses on collecting and analyzing data about you. These appliances and devices include your phone, watch, TV, sound devices, refrigerator, washer, dryer, and even your AC unit. This network of interconnected appliances and devices is known as the Internet of Things. There was a movie that came out in 2008 called Eagle Eye. The plot revolves around an AI tech that wanted to eliminate the executive branch of the US government. As the AI's plan was being executed, it was able to surveil everyone, see what they're doing at any time and place. Recalling this movie made me think of the Internet of Things, also known as IoT. IoT, as described by IBM, is a network of physical devices, vehicles, appliances, and other physical objects that are embedded with sensors, software, and network connectivity, allowing them to collect and share data on an individual. IoT devices, also known as smart objects, can range from simple smart home devices like smart thermostats to wearable devices like smartwatches and RFID enabled clothing to complex industrial machinery and transportation systems. IoT enables smart devices to communicate with each other and with other internet enabled devices like smartphones and gateways, creating a vast network of interconnected devices that can exchange data and perform various tasks anonymously. As the number of internet connected devices continue to grow, IoT is likely to play an increasing role in reshaping our world. IoT has already begun to transform the way we live, work, and interact with each other and can be expected to change our lives even more. Technologists are even envisioning smart cities. As of right now, many countries, including the United States, Canada, EU member states, Japan, China, and Korea, have all implemented smart grids. By using IoT technologies, power grids have become more interconnected, allowing for better monitoring, control, and optimization of various systems operating within the environment. This interconnectivity, while having many positives, is also accompanied by weaknesses that can be easily exploited. Concerns among cybersecurity experts range from data breaches among consumer IoTs to social panic and chaos among industrial IoTs. Concerns regarding smart homes, smart wearables, and smart cars includes inadequate authentication, insufficient encryption, firmware and software vulnerabilities, lack of standardization, physical security risk, inadequate privacy security, supply chain vulnerabilities, limited resources for security, poorly secured communication channels, and lack of awareness and education. Cybersecurity experts at McAfee have warned that Peloton bikes were vulnerable to malware, allowing hackers the ability to install fake apps and steal personal data from users. These smart devices come with everything turned on, everything enabled, and very little security, and this creates a phenomenon where users can be extorted, stalked, robbed, and home networks can be commandeered to attack professional networks. Any Wi Fi network can fall to an attack no matter what. A network is only as strong as its weakest device. Hackers gain information, extract data, and expand the scope of their attacks through the strategy called island hopping. In this technique, the malicious actor takes over one network and uses the information from that network to tap into other networks. During this process, they're able to mask their location by operating behind the mask of the victim's network, protecting their location and implicating the victim. A smart fridge or smart coffee pot acts as the perfect site for the initial attack. In 2015, smart fridges were being used to send out cyber attacks via email. In 2018, smart devices were being used to mine Bitcoin for hackers. In response to hackers gaining access to their appliances, Samsung introduced Knox security, and now there is Knox Matrix that unifies security across your Samsung IoTs instead of relying on the protections from each device individually. Nevertheless, even in 2024, across the internet, there have been reports by cybersecurity experts and news media companies that warn individuals about the vulnerabilities of their smart home and smart cars and how to tell if a hacker has gained access to your IoT. Among privacy researchers, IoT is seen as an application of surveillance capitalism. Surveillance capitalism refers to new economic conditions in which online information is converted into valuable commodities, and where the capture and production of these commodities rely on mass surveillance over the internet. Researchers state that in this knowledge economy, the digitalization and instrumentalization of social spaces have effectively created prediction services and are a threat to societies and individuals' flourishing. Surveillance capitalism and its relationship to children and their development is a very concerning issue among researchers. Data being collected on babies and children through smart objects have raised three concerns about children's privacy. The first concern is regarding the appropriation of children's data for commercial profit. The second concern is that children are too young to consent or understand the implications of this practice. Finally, the third concern revolves around the unknown consequences that could result from this accumulated data over a child's lifetime. There is another aspect that companies creating smart objects or even users of smart objects are not really thinking about. It is the infringement of a third party's privacy by a smart object. For example, if you enter someone's home or walk down the street, you will be monitored by a smart object. Is there a way to keep your privacy in these situations? Should I walk around with a ski mask on my face? What about children that are exposed to these smart objects? Food for thought. I don't know about you, my listeners, but I want to be mysterious in a world that wants to know everything about me. And I would like to have the possibility of saying no. Now, for the answer to the trivia question from last week, which was, what is the legal age of consent? A, 18 years, B, 12 years, C, 21 years, or D, it depends on the country. And the answer is D, it depends on the country. Why is this important for data protection? You may have asked yourself. Well, consent is an important legal base under the GDPR when processing special categories of data, especially for targeted advertising. Consent cannot be implied and must always be given through an opt-in, a declaration, or an active motion so that there is no misunderstanding that the data subject has consented to the particular processing. Under the GDPR, consent may be given by persons who are 16 years and older. For children and adolescents under 16, consent or authorization must be given by a parent or guardian. EU member states can also lower this age limit, but it may not be lower than age 13. This age of digital consent applies when an organization offering online services processes the personal data of a child and relies on consent as the legal base for doing so, such as targeted advertising. In those cases, processing the personal data of a child below the age is lawful only if consent is given by the child's parent or guardian. The GDPR requires every organization that processes personal data to have a legal basis for doing so. However, consent is just one of six legal bases allowed by the GDPR. Other legal bases include where processing is necessary for the performance of a contract, to perform official functions, or for legitimate interest of the organization doing the processing. However, under contract law, countries have also set a legal age of consent for when a child or adolescent can enter into a contract with a company for a good or service. This is why, in the privacy policies I have read so far, social media sites have used legitimate interest to process the data of minors. But when companies choose this legal basis, a fair balance must be struck between the legitimate interests of organizations and the interests and rights of children. If children's rights and interests outweigh those of the organization cannot rely on legitimate interests. Currently, this balancing assessment is left to the organizations themselves. If your child's favorite social media app or game has a sign up age of less than 16, then the company may be using a legal basis other than consent. All of this illustrates the importance of carefully reviewing the social media platforms, games, and other online services your child is interested in and discussing these with your child before they sign up. Don't just assume that a social media company needs your consent to collect your child's data. Equally important, don't assume that your child cannot give away significant amounts of their data without your consent. Okay, now without further ado, it is time to present Samsung Electronics privacy policy. This privacy policy describes the personal information Samsung may obtain online across all its internet connected devices and services, from mobile phones and tablets to TVs, home appliances, online services, and more. Collectively, they are called services. Samsung has published numerous privacy policies depending on where you are on the globe. So be sure to choose the relevant privacy policy that applies to you if you want to know further details. Furthermore, it should be stated that the information in the privacy policy is succinct. If you would like to know more detailed information, you will have to contact Samsung directly. Why is Samsung invading your privacy and processing your data? And who gave them permission to do so? Samsung uses the information it collects for the following purposes: to help you or your device register for its services, to provide a service or feature you requested, to provide customized content and personalized services based on your past activities on its services, to provide personalized and or generalized advertising, promotions, and offers that might interest you on its services, websites, third-party websites, and online platforms such as social media websites, to provide promotions and offers by way of direct marketing communications, to operate, evaluate, and improve its business, including developing and improving new and existing products and services, managing and improving its communications, analyzing its services, and customer base. To provide software updates, maintenance services, and support for your devices. To provide customer support to you when your devices are in warranty. To ensure product safety and to prevent fraud when your products are out of warranty. To verify your device for repairs. To protect the legal rights and interests, property, or safety of Samsung Electronics or its affiliates, business partners, or customers. To respond to requests and inquiries, including your personal information. To protect against identity and prevent fraud or criminal activity, claims, and other liabilities. To comply with and enforce applicable legal requirements, relevant industry standards, and its policies, including the Samsung privacy policy, and to analyze a defective device that is returning to Samsung. For the European Economic Area residents, Samsung created a separate section. I needed to go looking for it because it was not in the privacy information document. In this section, Samsung states that it processes personal information for the purposes described above. Samsung's legal basis to process personal information includes processing so that it can keep its promises to you, which is to provide you with a service, to promote its business interests, for example, to manage its relationship with you, improve your customer service experience, and provide generic ads, including communications on its website, third party websites, and online platforms, to comply with law and legal processes, and with your consent, for example, to send direct marketing communications. You can find more details listed in the privacy policy. So, what data is Samsung collecting? Samsung collects information from you in various ways. Samsung collects the information you provide directly from some services, such as when you create an account or profile, when you order a product or paid for a service, when you contact customer service, and when you share your contacts. Samsung also collects information about your use of its services through software on your devices and by other means. This information includes device information, log information, location information, voice information, and Samsung keyboard information. Additionally, Samsung collects publicly or commercially available information, including information from social networks you use, and combine this with other information about you so that Samsung can better understand your needs, interests, and preferences. Furthermore, Samsung collects other information about you, your devices, and your use of its services that you consented to send. And lastly, Samsung collects personal information through certain services about your online activities on websites and connected devices over time and across third party websites, devices, apps, and other online services and features. More details on this is listed in the privacy policy. How long will Samsung hold on to this information? Samsung will not keep your personal information for longer than is necessary for the purposes for which it was collected. This means that information will be destroyed or erased from its systems when it is no longer required. Samsung takes appropriate steps to ensure that it processes and retains information about you based on the following logic. At least the duration for which the information is used to provide you with a service, as required under law, a contract, or with regard to its statutory obligations, and only for as long as is necessary for the purposes for which it was collected, processed, or for longer if required under a contract by applicable law or for statistical purposes subject to appropriate safeguards. Who is Samsung sharing your data with? Samsung discloses your information internally within its business as well as with the following entities: affiliates, other Samsung Electronic Group companies, which Samsung is in control of or own, business partners, partners who Samsung work with, service providers, other parties when required by law or as necessary to protect its services, other parties in connection with corporate transactions, and other parties with your consent or at your direction. Additionally, some of the content, advertising, and functionality in Samsung services is provided by third parties. These third parties may use cookies, beacons, tracking pixels, and other tools to collect information about your use of these services. These third parties are not controlled directly by Samsung, so it is recommended that you check their privacy policies to understand how they use your data. For some apps and services, including social networks, Samsung receives and stores sign in information as well as other information that you allow it to receive when you're connected to these apps and services. More details are listed in the privacy policy. Where is your data being sent to outside of the European Union? During your use of Samsung services, the transfer, storage, and processing of your personal data within and outside the country of residence is necessary. Your personal information will be transferred to the Republic of Korea. In addition, your use of its services may also include the transfer, storage, and processing of your personal information to other countries where necessary. Such countries include, without limitation, countries in the European Economic Area, the United States of America, the United Kingdom, Switzerland, China, Singapore, Vietnam, India, Canada, Mexico, the Philippines, and Japan. Some countries have been determined by the European Commission to adequately protect your personal data. Samsung also states that the data protection laws and other laws of countries to which your personal information may be transferred might not be as comprehensive as those in your country. But Samsung will take appropriate measures in compliance with applicable law to ensure that your personal information remains protected. Such measures include the use of standard contractual clauses to safeguard the transfer of data outside of the EEA and the United Kingdom. And now for the final part of Samsung's privacy policy, which is the list of your rights. Samsung states that your personal information belongs to you. In accordance with applicable law, you have the right to ask Samsung to provide details about what it has collected, and you can ask Samsung to delete it or correct any inaccuracies. You can also ask Samsung to restrict or limit processing, sharing, or transfer of your personal information, as well as to provide you your personal information that it has collected so that you can use it for your own purposes. You have the right to data portability, which means that you can ask Samsung to provide your personal information to you or to a third party in a machine readable format. You can also object to your personal information being processed and can withdraw your consent. However, requesting the deletion of your personal information may also result in the loss of access to services Samsung provides. Samsung further states that it will not delete data that is required by law to retain. You also have the right to object to processing on the basis of legitimate interest and to object to the processing for marketing purposes, including profiling. More details on how to exercise these rights are listed in the privacy policy. As I near the end of my podcast, it is time to present my trivia question of the week. And my question is phishing is done through email. True or false? Think about it, do some research, and let me know in the comments and the poll what the answer could be. And I will share the answer with you in the next episode. Thank you again for sharing your time with me today and gaining some data protection knowledge. And wherever you are in the world, I bid you good day, good evening, and good night. Until next time, bye!